Life is one of the heaviest beings that one can try to support. It is known to go through storms, heavy winds, and downpours. But you are built to stand and not collapse. I challenge you to grow out of your comfort zone. The biggest giant that you will ever face in life is your mindset. One of the biggest things that limit us and keep us defeated is the opinion that we have of ourselves. When I changed my mind, it changed my life. I didn't just survive, I bounced back better. I bounced back better. Bounce 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 back better.
You're now listening to LifeStruction with Eric.
So many people have good intentions, but they fail to realize good intentions. Basically, good intentions have never done anything for anybody. But what happens is they eventually die unless you act on those intentions. We all have dreams on the inside of us, but there is one thing called emotional strength, which fuels our determination. If we don't basically act on this, we get pulled in the wrong direction and we basically fall out of alignment. Hello, my name is Eric, and welcome to the LifeStruction with Eric podcast. Today, we have the so elegant, powerful entrepreneur and motivational speaker, Miss Essence Chyna, with us. At this time, we're going to welcome her to the show. Welcome to the show, Essence.
Hey, Eric. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you. I saw you bouncing to my music there.
Bounce back better. What?
Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you. But yeah, we're going to jump right in. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your background, and what it is that you do.
Absolutely. So I was actually born and raised in Glendale, Arizona. Been doing hair since high school, and it was something that I took on as like a passion, just like a side hustle. Didn't never know it was going to become my career, but it actually turned out to be something that I'm still doing, decades after. And so I am a natural hairstylist, salon owner, and educator, and I teach hairstylists how to like build their businesses and perfect their techniques.
Nice. So yeah, professional hairstylist. You started out, and I love your story. You started out braiding, at the age of 12. You eventually made it to the point where you wanted to open up a salon. But Arizona, they made it difficult, saying that you needed a license. But knowing pretty much what being educated, you pushed and challenged the law. And basically, you wanted making history, getting the bill signed for the governor, signed by the governor, which allowed hair braiders to be able to open a salon without needing a license. And from there, God has just opened major doors for you. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I moved to Maryland to go to college. And while I was out there, I decided to work at a barbershop. And while I was there, I didn't have to have a license to do hair. So I had already been doing hair previously before moving to Maryland. And so when I got out there, I was able to work in a barbershop and a salon. And then I had an encounter with God, and he literally revolutionized my life and put me on a different trajectory. And he literally was leading me to come back to Phoenix. And I was, when I say kicking and screaming, I did not want to come back because I really didn't see a future here for me. And so I fought and struggled with it for about a year. And I came to a point where I was like, I'm hearing this so loud and it won't relent. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I need to go back to Phoenix just to see if there's something there. And plus I knew it was God. So I moved back to Phoenix in 2003. And I remember telling God, like, if it don't pop off in a year, I'm out. Like I'm gonna give it 12 months. And if it don't change, I'm out of here. It's like me trying to negotiate, right? But I moved back home with my mother. And my mother at the time really wanted me to decide what I want to do with my life. She's like, what you gonna do? Like, you can't be braiding hair in the laundry room no more. Like, that was like for your teenage years, but what are you gonna do with your life? And so I was frustrated because I knew that, she was leading me to go down the path of being a nurse because my mother's a RN. And so I was like, okay, let me do this to appease my mom, but I really feel like there's something deeper that God wanted me to come back here for. And I remember just thinking, like, I know I want to do hair, but I don't know how to circumvent the law because the law was such that you had to have a license in order to do any type of hair. And because I was doing braiding, locking, and twisting, and they didn't teach on it, I didn't feel that it was fair for me to have to go to school to learn techniques and processes that I wasn't going to be practicing, once I opened my own business. And so I called the state board and I confirmed that that's what they were asking of me, is that I had to have a license. And so I got the phone and I was just frustrated. I just was like, okay, now what, God? Because I felt like he led me to call them. And then, I just remember just being led by my spirit to find a law firm that would represent my case. And so I'm just on, AOL, that it was just before Google for real. And I'm just looking for a law firm. And I remember reaching out to about 3 or 4. And I think the third one I came across, it was the Institute for Justice. And come to find out, they had just opened a location here in Phoenix, and they were a nationwide organization. And they had already set the precedent in California, I believe, to deregulate essentially natural hairstylists, braiders, locticians from having to obtain cosmetology licenses. And so when I heard that, immediately I'm like, okay, yeah, there's something here, And so I met with the lawyer and I told him, he came to my mother's house and I told him what I was trying to do. And he seemed very excited. And I was like, listen, if you're excited, then I guess I need to be excited too. And literally we filed Essence Pharma versus the State Board of Cosmetology December of 2003. And I had only been home for 3 or 4 months, and that's pretty much what happened. We filed, and Janet Napolitano, who was the governor at the time, heard about the case. And in the process of us, going back and forth with the state and, about to go into court with it, she essentially signed off on the law, which literally amended it and opened up the doors for all braiders, locticians, and natural hairstylists in the state of Arizona to not have to obtain a cosmetology license. And so that happened in April of 2004. So we're talking a matter of months. But the law didn't take effect until August of 2004, which was funny to me because that was a complete revolution of a year. And I had already told God, like, something don't change within a year. So he had me change the whole law within, a year's time. It's like, okay, now what? Where you going to go now?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Wow. I love it. I'm listening at you and I think about this thing, John Maxwell, he said, show me a person that has positive anticipation and I'll show you a person that gives 100% commitment and effort towards what they are doing. And, this would have never happened if you would have allowed, fear to make a decision, for you. A lot of it's prime example of, you not taking no as the final answer. And basically, you just pushing it, because you knew better. And, a lot of times I think it's, we fail because we're not educated enough or and that comes with, of course, reading. I know you're a reader, it comes with reading and being educated and also being connected to people that know more than we know, and I think that's the reason a lot of us fail, because a lot of people would have said, oh, well, I can't open up a shop. So what was the next thing they're going to do? Just go work for somebody else.
Yeah. Or go do something. Yeah. And be out of alignment essentially because
Right,
um,
right.
for me, I actually during that whole process, I enrolled in nursing school. I went through nursing school all of 2004, 2005. I got my license. I became a nurse. And I was still braiding. By this time I had moved into my own apartment. I was braiding in my apartment, but I still felt like, okay, I went to school and got this license to become a nurse that I felt like I needed to do that. But there became a point where
Mm,
I started to feel that I was out of alignment because I was being pulled in the direction of my original assignment.
right, right. Yeah, you done said assignment twice there. So before we go any further, I just want to plug this clip, which I mean, I have watched this clip so many times, and each
Oh,
time I
wow.
watch it, I pull something different out of it. If it didn't speak to nobody else, it definitely spoke to me.
Mm,
And it's basically hearing from God. And like you said, he told you, you gave him a year and he showed you what he could do in a year. And it's like you have to be, you have to have that foundation where, when you're planted in him and you know how to hear from him. If it's him, he's going to give you all of the answers. He's going to give you confirmation. But I could talk on that all day. I'm going to
yeah.
plug this. I'm gonna plug this clip real quick. So, and
Mhm.
then we're going to come back.
Okay. This is why you gotta hear from God. This is why the Bible says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not into thy own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him. Why? Because he wants to direct your steps. And this is why every time you try to do something that is is contrary to God's word, you feel this irritation, you feel this disruption in your spirit because God is saying that's not what I'm saying. But because we don't understand his plan for our life and we think that his plan for our life it don't necessarily make sense. It's just counter. It just don't make sense. God's plan for my life didn't make sense for me when he started telling me certain things. I was like, that don't make no sense. You tripping? You want me to do what, bro? But because I felt it so strong, I felt like I would be a fool to not at least try. Again, we can't make anything true until we try. And so a lot of times we hearing something from God, and even if we're hearing it somehow or another, he's pulling us in directions. People are telling you, you're supposed to do this. God will send people along your path to confirm what's in your spirit. But if your mind overrides your spirit, you'll never get there. Let the words of your mouth and the meditation of your heart be acceptable. Let it line up with the thoughts that God thinks, so then we can move into a direction that he calls us to move in. But when we don't, the thing is, we've allowed so much of this world system, this demonic system into our minds that we have been conformed. We think we're supposed to walk this line. No, you're supposed to be all out the line. I tell y'all, people going that way, I'm going that way.
My God, today I cut it right there. I just cut it right there. But that's just so good, so good. I normally have all of these questions that I'm going to ask, but that video clip right there could preach all day. I'm just going to give you full access to just dissect this. I might jump in from time to time, but just elaborate on this. I'm just giving you full access to elaborate on it.
I think that many times, even for myself, I have not believed God. I believe that God is grand, right? And so when he shows you your future and he shows you a glimpse of what it is that he's called you to do, many times we tend to reject it out of fear, out of insecurity, out of the things that we lack in the natural, right? And because of that, we tend to conform. There's so many different ways I could talk about that, but I definitely have found myself trying to fit in, even though I know I'm rare, even though I know I'm
Mm,
unique, even though I know I'm called to greatness, right? And I think that that is the tendency um, of human beings to not really want to stand out because we don't necessarily want to be ostracized or we don't want to be, talked about in any kind of way. But when God has called you to lead, um, there are some things that you are going to have to pioneer. And we think about doing anything that requires, a pioneer, like you're going on an exploration that you're blazing a trail. So there's a lot of courage and boldness that is required in that. But I don't know if there's anything specific you wanted me to speak on, because I feel like there's so many different ways I could go. But yeah, for me, I just really felt like I had to get in alignment because I was feeling a disruption in my spirit. Yeah, I'm making money. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, I'm helping people, and we're all called to help, but it's in the capacity that we are called to help. And so while I was passing meds at this lockdown facility for youth, um, I'm doing my job, I'm getting paid, but I was out of alignment. It wasn't where I was supposed to be. And so
Right.
I think that when
Right.
we're called to, when we are called to, I guess, get in alignment, it's a leadership position as well. I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
because as you
Mm-hmm.
allow God to lead you, he's going to call you to lead, I believe. You know what I mean? Like, I think the greatest attribute of a leader is to follow. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And what I mean
Yeah.
by that is follow the divine. And from that, you will naturally come into alignment, and you will naturally, I believe, make history in your own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And I love how you said, if your mind overrides your spirit, you will not get there.
Yes.
And basically that's a a lot can fit into that one sentence right there, because you have your fear, you have the naysayers that tell you,
Mm,
are you crazy to try that? You know, then you have that determination that I talked about earlier. You have to be determined, to push past all of that. But this right here, it depends on, once again, that emotional strength. If you don't have strong emotional strength, you ain't gonna make it. You're not gonna make it.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I literally had to get to a place where I had to begin to rehearse the rhema over my life, because
Mm-hmm.
I remember walking in my home one day and I'm like, God, you said this and you said that. And why am I not stepping into it? And he was like, because you don't believe.
Mm.
And I mean, it just smacked me like a ton of bricks. Like, okay, so here it is. The God of this earth, like, of all things, has told me who I am, what it is I'm supposed to do. And here it is. I'm arguing with him,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
which shows that I don't believe. And so, I had to go through this process of, what does it mean how do I get to the place where I believe you now? And
Mm-hmm.
so one of those things for me was, one, knowing God's character. He can't lie.
Mm.
He's not a God that he should lie, nor the son of man that he should repent. So every word that
Mm.
he speaks has to come to pass. So if he told, I created you to be this, to do this, the only thing that's going to block it is my disobedience and my unbelief. Right. And this is what I'm
Right.
talking about, when your mind overrides your spirit. When
Mm-hmm.
you are not coming into agreement with what he said, you will by nature completely be off the path. You will be completely out of alignment. And so what I had to do was to almost drench my mind with the truth. What did he say? Right. And so what I had to do was go back to every prophetic word that had been spoken over my life. And I'm talking about from all types of people, didn't even know one another. And it was always the same thing. You're supposed to do this. And I'm
Mm.
just like, I don't know. But then it's like, okay, now at this point, I'm not, how do I say this? It's not so much that I'm disagreeing with the people, but it's the God in the people that I'm now contending with. Right. And so
Yeah.
now I had
Yeah.
to say, okay, I need to believe. And so he said, rehearse the rhema. So what I did is I wrote down every prophetic word over my life. And then
Mm.
on top of that, what I just naturally felt drawn and called to. And every morning I would get up and I would repeat and recite those things over my mind, because I do believe that repetition is so vital when it comes to stepping into your path and your destiny and your journey and all that. It's like you have to be reminded daily. And it's who else is going to do it for you but you? You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
on the flip side of that, we have all this negative self-talk that is mental, that it goes under the radar, that we don't even recognize. And here it is, we're wondering, well, why haven't I stepped into that? Because you're fighting yourself. You're beating yourself up. You're not. And so what happens is when you get to the place of belief, when you get to the place of understanding, this is who I am in agreement with that now. Now, because you're in agreement, there's a level of boldness with your behavior, right? Because behavior is predicated like by belief. Now that I believe that I am who he said I am, even if I'm scared, I'm going to step out. So just to give you an example, my father was very prophetic. Rest in peace. He passed a few years ago, but he would always tell me, you're going to have a school. You're going to have a school. Now, this is before I even opened a salon, right? So I'm just like, Daddy, what are you talking about? He's like, you're going to be teaching. And I'm just like, okay, Daddy, like, whatever. I'm a kid. I don't really know these things. And so I held on to that, and it was always in the back of my mind. But, I had a salon and, you've been to the one in Glendale that I had at that time. And, I got to a place where one of my hairstyles got really big, blew up. It was in Essence magazine. It's literally all over the world. People are now blowing up my phone from all over asking me, how did you do this hairstyle? Right. So here it is. Now the teacher's being pulled out of me. And I just I'm just trying to tell them on the phone, but now people are asking, I need you to train me. And I felt comfortable in the capacity of my own salon, but I didn't feel confident enough to teach people that I didn't know. Because I'm thinking, what if I fail them? What if they want their money back? What if they didn't bought a plane ticket, they didn't got a hotel room, and they didn't pay for this training and they don't learn? And so those mental blocks literally kept me paralyzed. I don't know how long it was, but I'm gonna say probably a few years before I really was like, you know what, God, this is what you said. This is what it's being, called on. And I got to step into it. And I was afraid, but what I started to do was agree. I am an educator. I had to agree. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And, just to go halfway back from what you just said, when you talked about, a lot of times we pause because of the things that we speak. And that was me, so I totally agree, can relate to that because, God showed me, photography is my first love. But at the same time, I kept being pushed to write my book. And I was like, ain't nobody going to buy no book from me, and it took him to wake me up at 3 a.m. after a dream. I've told this story before, and that dream had my favorite cousin. We all have that favorite cousin, but in that dream, it had my favorite cousin that she was the first one that I pitched that I want to write a book. But once again, she pushed me, but I needed confirmation from everybody else to write this book. She passed away. And I saw her for the first time in a dream, and she was there smiling. Then she disappeared, and it was a table with a pad and a pencil. And I was like, okay, God. Woke up. That was a start. I wrote my book. I got it out. And from there, he was like, okay, it's not just the book. People need to hear your story. So I started reaching out to people to try to get on their platform. And people read the email, no response. So, for a while, I was kind of about to pause, falling out of alignment. And he said, create your own platform, create your own platform and watch how I make it grow. And those same people that you reached out to be on their platform, they're going to be willing to pay you to come and speak on their platform, and then, the vision became much plainer. It became much plainer, and now, everything is falling into line. And so when I hear your story, it's just like, boom, I totally, can relate to what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, That's all I know. All I really know is to walk by faith. And
Yeah.
even though I'm
Yeah.
a hairstylist, I have to share my faith in all of it, because had it not been for the Lord on my side, but no, seriously,
Uh-huh.
had it not been for God literally like snatching me up and saying, "Go back to Arizona," I could have had a salon. I could have still been in Maryland. I could have still, done things, but it would have been my own dream for me as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
his dream. And so I have to share what got me here, because what people see, it's not just, oh, I had these great ideas. They were God ideas. They were literally him saying, do this, and me just saying, okay, this does not make sense. It's very counterintuitive. It was counterintuitive for me to move back to Arizona, where it's 6% Black, and I want to be a natural hairstylist. And natural hair at that time was not even a thing in Phoenix. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So for me to go that route and to make those moves, it was just like I had to be in a point of faith and belief that what he was saying was going to be the best for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy because, basically your whole story basically just displays, that you had a lot of confidence, because even, a lot of people, I know you don't have your salons anymore, but there are so many people, and that's another way that you fall out of alignment. You know, there would be many people in your position and they would still be trying to juggle two salons and a school and try to do it all by themselves. And I'm so glad that you saw that in your calling and you decided to move forward because like you said, your school has really really grown and blossomed, and it goes back to when your dad spoke it to you years ago and you was like, what? But now you're traveling the country, speaking, doing training, doing the training sessions. And I see the testimonials. I saw one the other day, and the girl was crying because she had
Mhm.
basically, she had basically, I guess, finally got a grips of the technique, and it's stuff like that that it just confirms the reason that you're doing what you're doing.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I just believe everything is about like graduation and evolving. And I got to a place where I knew that hairstyling, being behind the chair, that my season had ended. And I kind of have a sense of like the timing of God in my life, And so because
Mm-hmm.
of that, it was like I was being forced out of a place. And there was a part of me that wanted to stay because of the comfortability and the fear of what is next. And so having to essentially let go of something that you've known to step into the unknown definitely has been something that I've had to literally like pray for confidence in those
Mm-hmm.
areas,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so technically I still have the salon. It's all still my brand. I'm not operating the salon currently. So we're
Gotcha.
just more
Gotcha.
we're expanding. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, the school has done some amazing things. We've traveled, I mean, all over, and I'm so grateful for that and just been able to have the impact that we've had. I'm just grateful.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's all a part of growth. If y- cha- change requires growth. You're not, and basically if you're not growing, basically really you're not living.
Yeah.
Because if if you want to live, you're going to have to, it's always, you're always changing. And that's basically a
Mhm.
sign of growth, basically when we choose faith over fear, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel. you know you just have that confidence that you're going to get there. And a lot of times we put ourselves in that holding position, and we stop moving forward, and God is like, no, I have given you the blueprint. I've laid everything out for you. You got it. Why are you stopping?
Mhm.
And that it just takes that strength and courage, for to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't lie. I have definitely had seasons, and even probably more recently, where I just like kind of, I'm not going to say got lost, but the vision was not as clear.
Mm-hmm.
After I lost my father and, transitioned ownership, well, not ownership, but like operation to
Yeah.
my protege, so to speak, I got to this place where I'm like, I know what God is saying is next, but this is the most cloudiest it's ever been in my life. But I also believe that season was, even though it didn't necessarily have like a lot of accomplishments in the natural, I had to grow spiritually. I always tell people your business can only grow to the extent that you do as a person. And what I realized is that I had reached ceilings because I had to go inside and go do some inner work and some inner healing so I could recognize essentially what I need to change within me so I can go higher. And so yeah, I think that all of that literally has been, because I've had several struggles, several setbacks. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you're figuring it out along the way. And I think a lot of people, you may see just the accomplishments and the successes, but a lot of times we don't see the background of, how much money's been lost, how many bad deals we've had, how many, sleepless nights we may have had, or even the times where we may feel like we failed. I remember when I closed the Glendale location, I was concerned. I'm like, and I don't know why I was so concerned. I knew it was the right step, but it was like, what are people going to think? You know what I mean? Like, is this a success? I mean, is this a failure or what have you? And I really had to get beyond what it looks like to people. I know that I'm being led. I know what direction I'm going in, and ultimately, what God wants to do in this path and this journey. So, like, I have to get past that. But I think a lot of times we are hyper concerned about what it looks like, and that inhibits us from taking the steps that we need to take. Because in taking those steps, who knows, we might fall, right? And if we perceive our falling as a failure, then that literally can just like keep us paralyzed, and I had to get to the place where I'm just like, just like as a baby has to get back up every time they take a step and they fall, like they're excited. They're excited they took a step
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
when we become adults, it's like, I'm not even going to try that, because if I fall, and it's just like, no, that's how you figure it out. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And so for me, I've really started to learn how to give myself more grace in those seasons of setbacks and seasons where it doesn't seem like things are necessarily working in my favor, so to speak, because it may not be on my timing.
Right.
um, that
Right.
I learned that everything, literally all things work together for the good. And I have to get very comfortable in that and understand that everything is about learning the lessons that you need to learn and picking up those gems of wisdom so you can take it to the next place, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's that's the beautiful part about it. Being able to find beauty in every, there, like you said, we're all going to fail. But if you can pick up a small gem out of every time that you failed and be able to take it and grow into through the next chapter in your life, that's right there. You're just putting together more strength. But that's
Mm,
the beauty of it. Each time you fail, there's going to be something positive that you can pull out of it. And I think one of the things is a lot of times we it's difficult because we lose our way of thinking because we plan to succeed, but we never plan to fail. And
mhm,
that can be very hard because I what the Marines, we talked about that a few months ago. A lot of people don't know in the Marines, which I found it, amazing. They planned when they're planning out a mission, they plan every possible way that they may fail before they plan to
mm,
succeed. And that was deep to me because pretty much any way that they fail, they're already ready to bounce to plan B or plan C. And a lot of times we just plan to succeed and we don't plan to fail. And once you fail, it's like I knew they were right. Like you just said about when you shut down the Glendale location, people you were thinking what they may think, and when you fail, you had that one person that say, "Are you crazy? Why are you trying that?" My cousin tried that and it didn't work. And and then you're bouncing back to that thought like, oh, they were right, and we give up and we don't even try to
Mhm.
move. We don't try to move forward.
Yeah. And I think that's another reason. I mean, you mentioned like how people can be in your ear to really protect what you've been given and your vision, because everybody is just, they may not have the faith to see it. They may be projecting from their own insecurity or their own past failures. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's well meaning. I've had family members that would always like kind of question me about the moves I was making. And I realized that they're not born entrepreneurs. And so they don't understand like the definition of an entrepreneur essentially is somebody who takes risk. You know what I mean? And so some people have not lived that life of taking risk. And so when you share the type of risks that you're going to take, whether they're calculated or not, you may get the feedback that may cause you to fear. And so
Mm-hmm.
for me, I had to learn that I can't share it with everybody. I can only share it with people who, even if they're not an entrepreneur, they're going to cheer me on, you know, because I needed that. I don't get me wrong. I needed people to help me to navigate it through and to see it from different angles so I could better prepare. But at the same time, there were certain words that I just knew was going to kill it, because I
Right.
value that
Right.
opinion so greatly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. What can you leave with the person that's watching or listening that's easily distracted and having a hard time staying focused?
Easily distracted and a hard time staying focused. I this
Before you go any further, because
mhm.
I watched you and your brothers live a few weeks ago, and one of the things you said, and I showed it to my wife. I was like, see, there are people that actually do this. You said you don't watch TV. You don't have a TV in your house, and I know that's a big distraction. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Number one, what I found in my own life is that when I'm on fire with an
Mm,
idea, there's almost nothing that could really distract me. And I mean, that has just been my own life. When God gave me the idea for the academy, and I felt like he was saying like I'm gonna teach online. I literally was doing all types of research. I mean, I I started building my own site. I'm not no website builder. You know what I mean? But because I didn't necessarily have the budget to buy, get somebody to build the site for me, I figured it out. And I think that when you are impassioned with an idea and you know it's a God idea, ain't too many distractions gonna come from that for me. So then I always ask the person, is this an authentic assignment? Is this an authentic passion? Because I feel like when it really is, distractions really aren't a thing. You know what I mean? Along the way, yeah, as you grow in your career or whatever it is that you're called to do, things may come that may become like some sort of distraction, but you have to know yourself. Like for me, it may not be TV, but it may be social media. You know what I'm saying? That I'm just like I find myself scrolling and I'm like, you know what? I need to get off of here. But I think that for me, what has helped me to I don't know, I guess to challenge that is just to make sure that I'm doing things that I do love, because I think sometimes we try to replace the bad habit by eliminating the bad habit, but you have to replace it with something that you do enjoy. That's actually going to bring some level of fulfillment. And so I don't know, it could be just setting aside a block of time to where it's like, you know what, I'm gonna put a timer on whatever it is that I feel addicted to. And then
mm-hmm.
that way I'm it's essentially scheduling it out to where I know I'm not giving it too much of my life, not even of my time, but of my life, Is it bringing you joy? Is it really, enhancing you? Is it increase? Are you being educated? If not, no. So for me, TV was easy to get rid of because I had some thoughts about TV as it pertains to being programmed. And I kind of realized that about 15 years ago. And I was like, I don't want a TV because I do
Mm-hmm.
not want to be, told how, I don't fit this standard of beauty, or I'm too this or I'm too that, which literally it eats away at your confidence subliminally. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I was like,
Yeah.
I'll turn the TV off. But now, because obviously social media, YouTube, you can now pick and choose what you want. But even that is funny because, now they suggest so much stuff because the algorithm kind of has an idea what you like, right? And
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
still have to, be careful that you're not being fed, as opposed to you're choosing what it is that you want to consume.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. And that's why it's like certain days I just and I guess it's a sign of old age because I can turn the cell phone off, for 3, 4, 5, 6 hour blocks. Don't even look at it. And I just
Hmm.
cringe in my work, because in my office I don't have a TV anyways. So I'll be locked up in here. Yesterday I was locked up in here all
Mm.
day, and it's just I think, and it's also a sign of growth, because you have certain ones that you're connected to that you can eat off of, and then there are some ones that's connected to you that they're toxic. And that's the
Hmm.
ones that I've learned to push away because it's a distraction. Don't send me no what I'm doing. I don't have time to look at your videos. Don't send me no links. No, because as soon as you click on that one, it opens up the
Yeah.
door for you to start strolling. Before you know it, you can kill 20 minutes, looking at
Easy.
nonsense. Looking at
Easy.
nonsense. Yeah,
Yeah. Y-
definitely.
there,
Definitely.
there's a scripture that says, teach Lord, teach me the number of my days that I may apply a heart of wisdom. And again, like I look at time as like it's a piece of my life, and we
Mm,
got this one life. And when we look at how much time cumulatively that we spend on things that are not bringing us any level of, real growth, like, yeah, okay, you want some entertainment, but at some point it becomes detainment, and it detains you
yeah.
from really accomplishing, that which you're called to accomplish. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, man, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and just chat with me a little bit
for
on this
sure.
topic. I really wanted to bring you on last month, during Black History Month, but our schedules both were out of alignment. But I mean, for
Yeah,
real, every day is Black History because there's somebody in the Black culture making some type of history every day. So I mean, but thank you. And the reason I wanted to bring you on last month was basically so I could kind of display our magazine. But anyways, once again,
hmm,
for everyone that's listening or watching, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity and trusting me to fulfill your vision years ago when you allowed me to be your photographer and you submitted the pictures to Essence Magazine. And that magazine actually made it to DC to the African American Museum. That was
hmm,
a big one for yourself as well as me. So thank you for that opportunity. But I mean,
absolutely.
you just have been a just straight life changer, and you've done so much, and you're still breaking barriers. So I just salute you. And actually, I think March is uh, the month to celebrate women, right? So
Hmm.
I salute you today because man, there's a lot of people that look up to you, and you have opened doors for so many people. So thank you. And I know your schedule is very busy, so I thank you for fitting me in your schedule and coming on to bless the LifeStruction fam with your wisdom and knowledge today.
Oh, thank you. No, I mean, literally, I'm honored. I'm grateful that you thought of me to bring me on. And yeah, I enjoyed it. So anytime you want to have me, I ain't that busy. Not yet. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting back to work. So
Right,
I'll make time for
right.
sure.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, I will definitely, since you threw it out there, I would definitely be bringing you back.
Okay.
Definitely, definitely. But yeah, thank you so much. And LifeStruction family, if you have any questions, you can definitely follow her. Well, I'm not going to say questions, but definitely follow her on Instagram. If you are interested in hair braiding, she have an amazing academy here called Rare Essence Academy, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, she's on Instagram. Definitely plug that. You can go to the website as well, and definitely look her up. If you have some young ones that's kind of struggling, they don't know where they want to go, put them in that class and let her teach them. You've heard her speak here this evening, so you know that will be in they will be in great hands. So definitely connect with her. And yeah, real quick, if you're in the Phoenix area, this is coming up on March the 19th. You can get your tickets online. The Celebration of Authors Showcase. It will be March 19th, 4:30 p.m. You can go to the website, mylifestruction.com, purchase your tickets. Definitely grab that. And yeah, with that being said, we thank you guys for tuning in. And you guys have a blessed evening.
Bye, y'all.